Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final. Runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle? Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you cleared land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. You do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the down ones. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the down one? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around.
Yeah, follow.
Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. hello everybody, and welcome to the Flyer live stream on this Thursday night. We've got a cracking show for you tonight, so loads and loads to fit in. Although, having said that, probably run short. Who knows? Anyway, so let's get going. And thanks SkyDemon for sponsoring the live stream. Without SkyDemon, it wouldn't be possible. So, and here is today's tip from a live stream from Tim himself.
Hello, I'm Tim from SkyDemon. Welcome to today's top tip. When you plan a flight in SkyDemon, you don't have to tell us a takeoff time, but if you do, it can help. Here's a flight I've planned in France. There are quite a few NOTAM for it, and this restricted area here is clearly an obstruction to our flight. But if you go into flight details, you can see that we're currently assuming we're going to be taking off any time today or tomorrow. Let's be a bit more specific with this, and we'll change it so we're going to go flying this Saturday the 5th. Instantly, this restricted area has faded out because it's not active at the weekend. And if you go into the NOTAMs list, you can see the takeoff time here, and there are far fewer bulletins in the list than there were. To reset it, just go to takeoff and go back to today or tomorrow. For more tips on how to use SkyDemon, go to skydemon.aero and choose Help and Support.
There you go.
You're working with soothing bedtime story voice.
Yes, yeah. Well, and some nice background music there. Believe it or not, next week I was working on the SkyDemon tip videos last week. Next week will be number 30. So we had a compilation of the top 10 of the first 10. So I think it's probably time for another compilation of the next 10 to come up soon. So 30 little tips, which are pretty wicked. So,
More importantly, thank you to SkyDemon for the support.
Absolutely, thank you, SkyDemon, for the support. Indeed, it's genuinely valued, and it wouldn't be possible without it. Certainly not to some extent. So let's get the weatherman in, shall we? Simon.
Evening, all.
How are you doing?
All right, thank you.
I've got something for you, Simon.
Go on.
Hey Simon, have you gone solo yet?
Got some flying in this week.
You gone solo yet?
Been doing some PFLs.
Has Simon gone solo yet?
Been doing some nav.
Have you gone solo yet?
Not solo yet. Oh, yes.
Very good. Well done.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Simon.
There we go. It's about bloody time. Did you see that landing? Did you see that landing?
I did see the landing.
Did they use the aeroplane afterwards? Was it okay?
Just about. The gaffer tape did hold, and the owner hasn't spotted it yet. So I think it'll be all right.
It's tough to hear in the video, but you can hear the people on the ground going, "That was a cracking landing. That was." Yeah, no, it was. You had to give surprise.
It was a surprise to them. It was even more of a surprise to me.
Tell us about it. We want to hear.
It was actually amazing. It wasn't expected. I didn't expect it at all. And actually, I was not that nervous doing it. I was more nervous thinking about it before than actually doing it. And there've been so many occasions in the past when it almost happened, but the winds were wrong, the cloud bases were wrong, various different things didn't come together. And then yesterday afternoon, almost everything just worked. We got the right runway, the wind dropped, the cloud bases lifted, and the instructor basically said, "They're the keys. I'll walk over to the aircraft with you," and off you go. And that was it. The most amazing thing. And actually, I was absolutely fine in the circuit, no problem at all. Wasn't really that nervous until about 20 feet above the ground. Halfpenny Green, you come over the hedge, and I was just getting ready for the flare, and I thought, "Oh my God, don't screw it up now." That's the only moment when it felt like somebody punched me in the stomach, but that went away. And then And then, yeah, I think I did a pretty decent landing there. So, you know, I'm never going to land like that ever again. I know that, but I just enjoyed that one. And it was great to hear the cheers from air traffic and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, brilliant. What an experience. Perseverance is the key. Absolutely. Yeah,
you didn't get one of your colour shirt tails cut off or anything, did you?
And I didn't get any of that. Not at the moment, anyway. Not just yet. I tell you what, I got out though, kissed that aircraft and kissed the ground. Wow,
Yeah,
what a day.
We saw you kissing the aircraft.
Yeah.
When we have a fire gathering, we'll bring some scissors and cut the back of one of your shirts off.
I think it needs to be done. I'm up for that. Definitely. But yeah, it was great fun. It was great fun. I like to say, perseverance is a key. Anybody doing it at the moment, and you kind of get to that solo point, and you're waiting. Just stick at it because it's well worth it. What a moment! What a moment.
Amanda wants to run the video again. Should we run it quickly again?
Go on then. Why not?
Go on then. Here you go. Enjoy it.
Hey Simon, have you gone solo yet?
Got some flying in this week.
You gone solo yet?
Been doing some PFLs.
Has Simon gone solo yet?
Been doing some nav.
Have you gone solo yet?
Not solo yet. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And I've got to say thanks to Josh and Darren, who you saw there, my instructors. Darren, who's been my instructor for the last few flights, I was his first solo student as well. So I almost think it was worse for him in the tower than it was for me. You know, what a brave guy. He's either that or completely nutters. Who knows?
Who just doesn't care?
Oh, he just doesn't care. Yeah, he'd had enough and thought, oh well, let's just see what happens.
Okay, well, I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen when I bring the weather on here to you. So let's click the button and see what happens.
Go on, try.
Oh,
Yay.
No,
There we go.
need it the other way around, don't we? We need big weather and small Simon.
Exactly. Go on.
Can you figure out how to do that then?
Go on, go for it. Give it a go. Way.
Oh, it's not quite like that.
Will that do? Nearly.
Okay.
There we go. That'll do. Won't it? That'll do. This was a picture that I took from the airfield this afternoon. Actually, this from Hagley Green, looking eastwards. Cumulonimbus cloud that was coming through on a really weak trough that we had. Notice how blue the sky is. Really cold, unstable air up there, and then that developing cumulonimbus cloud. And can you see that little feature there in the middle? I was just keeping an eye on that because that showed some signs of rotation. That potentially could have been the start of a tornado forming. And there's another couple back here as well that tried to get going. I don't think it actually did it as this cloud passed into Birmingham. But yeah, it was very, very close. And one of those weird days today that you wouldn't really have expected to see that sort of development. So you see, the weatherman can be caught out as well. But I thought, what a fantastic picture. And I still managed to fly, even with that. Anyway, this is how things look for tomorrow. I've shown you the Friday chart, first of all, here, for the simple reason that Friday probably looks to be the better day, I think, of the weekend. High pressure's building in. It's originally high pressure building into the south here. So we'll have a frost early on tomorrow morning, but actually it looks like being a decent day. I think very little cloud for England and Wales, probably for eastern Scotland as well. Across western Scotland, may just be a few showers moving in here. Base is about 2,000 to 3,000 feet, and cloud increasing across Western Ireland later with the winds picking up too. But elsewhere, it looks like being a really, really good flying day. And again, I'm booked in tomorrow. God, I'm keen, aren't I? This is how Saturday looks. It's a breezier day, not such a good day. We've got fronts coming into the north and towards the west. Notice the isobars close together. So those winds probably for most areas of the country coming in as a southwesterly. And I think we're going to be seeing speeds of 15 to 20 knots for most of us, but the gusts are going to get to 35 to 40 knots. I think probably a little bit lighter winds across East Anglia and the far southeast of England. Here, probably southwesterlies 15 gusting up to 25 to 28 knots. And the weather not bad down here, but base is generally around 2,000 to 3,000 feet across England and Wales, but Western Wales, Northern England, as you can see there, lots of rain around and lower cloud as well. And then for Sunday, low pressure in control again, I'm afraid, chaps. So lots of rain around, I think, on Sunday, centred through central and southern England. But really, to be honest with you, these sort of bases, we're going to be looking at 1,000 to 2,000 feet. Tops on those are getting up at about 15 to 18,000 feet. It's pretty windy across the southeast as well. South to southwesterlies there coming in at around about 15 to 20 knots at the surface, and probably 30 to 35 knots at across southern coast. And in fact, the upper winds on Sunday, we're looking at southerlies around 40 to 50 knots at 2,000 feet across eastern parts of England. So it is not going to be particularly pleasant. Having said that, if you're lucky enough to be up in eastern Scotland, here it looks like the conditions are going to be pretty good across eastern and central Scotland. Base is probably about 2,000 to 3,000 feet, good visibility, and similar across much of Ireland as well. Just 1 or 2 showers to watch for western Scotland. But for most of us, I'm afraid, across England and Wales, it looks like being a pretty yucky day. It's a good job it's weather school this weekend. Those of you coming to weather school will be smiling to yourself because of the poor weather that's outside. But if you do want to come along to aviation weather school yourself, then come along on the Saturday mornings at the 12th and 19th of March between 9:30 and 12:30 hours. Course presented entirely live by me online. So if you want to get better at forecasting yourself, or even start forecasting yourself, you want to understand why the weather does what it does, build your confidence in forecasting, and be able to plan your flying up to 5 days in advance, get yourself along to Aviation Weather School. So look at weatherschool.co.uk for more information on that. Right, back to the flying for me. I wonder if I can do it again. We'll find out tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Simon. Have a good
Cheers,
one.
Simon.
Sorry,
Thanks, all.
Captain Keeling. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Have fun.
Bye.
Have fun tomorrow.
Well, that's brilliant news.
Yes.
Yeah, good on him. It's been a long time coming.
Well done, bloody Simon. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but you'll look back on it. All of that waiting won't really count afterwards, will it? You'll look back on it, and it's kind of like really important to you at the time. But actually, I think it's going to be a good job. Looking forward to flying with Simon.
And it's immortalised in video now forever, so he can watch that back.
If you were Simon's mate and you were going flying, you'd be confident that it's like, oh yeah, Simon's going. I'm totally going today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Maybe we should make that into an NFT and sell it to him for nothing. I still haven't understood what bloody NFTs are, but anyway, there you go. Right, should we have some news?
Yes.
Dave,
So-
all right, first.
Yes. First story is a good news story. We've already said that Faraway Common Airfield is going to reopen, but now we know that it's going to reopen and stage at least 3 fly-ins over the season. The first is going to be the airfield's own welcome fly-in over the weekend of 21 and 22 of May, 21st and 22nd of May. This will be the first event since James Halltop bought the Devon Airfield last year rather, after the death of the previous owner, Terry Case. There was some concern it was going to become an equestrian centre, so it's good news that there's flyings there. The second event is on the 18th of June, and it's going to be staged by the Devon Strut of the LAA, which has long been involved with the airfield. So it's in fact, there'll probably be all of the fly-ins, but the Devon Strut, very active strut. We've been down there a lot. Third, I'm glad to say, the mighty Luscombe's take over the airfield for the European Luscombe Summer Bash over a long weekend, the 22nd to the 24th of July. Now, European Luscombe's is the group, informal kind of group of Luscombe owners, and it was started by Nigel Barrett, known as No Shoes, for his habit of flying in socks. He's also the owner of G-Brug, and he told us that although it's specifically a Luscombe event, we're also inviting those who are affiliated with Luscombe's, those who have previously owned a Luscombe, supported Luscombe's, or wish to own one. LAA staff and engineers who are associated with these beauties are also most welcome. And he also added that thanks to the kind generosity of the new owners of Faraway Common, James and Catherine, they're hoping to make this an annual event and perhaps one day beat the record of 25 Luscombe's at Oaksey. Now, if you want to go to any of these events, the details of the events and how to register for them are on the Flyer website, and I'll post a link to the story in a minute.
Very good. Well, there you go. If you can't get enough Luscombe's, Farway is going to be the place to be.
I presume you'll be there in your tent, Dave.
Yes. Well, hopefully I'll have something else to go in by then.
Oh yeah. Well, don't fly in a tent. Try and fly in a Luscombe if you can.
Ed.
Yeah.
Yes, a new aeroplane delivery. It's not every day that we get a brand new training aeroplane, but Elixir Aircraft has actually delivered its first aircraft, which is called the Elixir, and they've delivered it to the Aero Club de Pertuis in La Rochelle. And it's a local aero club to the French company, so they're obviously keeping their first one a little bit close at hand. Elixir was founded in 2015 to produce a carbon one-shot aircraft. This is a clever technology used in the production of yachts, and they've used it in aviation to build simplified structures, because simplified structures means lower parts count and hopefully a lower cost airframe. The ARSA CS23 certified Elixir is a two-seater directly aimed at the flight school market, and it's got a fuel burn of 12.5 litres an hour. They say it's 70% less CO2 emissions, because of course these are all buzzwords now, than similar training aircraft. It's also got spin-resistant behaviour, and it's got an airframe parachute. Price, which we actually know for once, is €235,000.
Good job they kept the price down then.
Sorry?
Good job they kept the price down then.
Well, a brand new certified aeroplane with nice avionics. How are you going to? That's kind of what it's going to cost to make, isn't it? So
I don't know. I've got high hopes for a whole bunch of 600 kilo microlights that will be less than that. But there you go. Good luck to them. We all need new airplanes. Not sure, how do they do 70% less carbon emissions for similar aircraft then?
I don't know. They maybe decided that their similar aeroplane is if you were training in a Cessna 206 or something.
Yeah. Not a similar aircraft with the same Rotax engine.
Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe they're thinking of what that but other buzzword. They're thinking of legacy training aircraft.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that brings me to my news story. I do apologise for this in advance. A little bit of kind of one of those death by PowerPoint things. Let's hope this is going to work. A bit of funny technology. A couple of days ago, the CA issued their kind of annual report, their school report for what happened in 2021. So we thought we'd take a quick look at it, and I put a few slides up to make it easier than that. So there you go. What did they actually do? Well, they made apparently significant progress on several tactical projects. Airworthiness SkyRoad code is on the way, apparently, so that's good. If it's anything like the previous one, the non-airworthiness one, it'll be good and people will be able to understand it. The carbon monoxide detector project kicked off, although I think we'll find out later exactly what that means. Then they had to think amongst themselves. I kind of imagine around the coffee machine, go, well, how should we delegate more to the BGA? They're examining possibilities around unleaded fuel, several lines of work to support historic aircraft. That's because the aviation minister, Robert Courts, is a big historic aircraft fan. So what they mean is several lines of work to keep Robert Courts happy at the DFT. And they're reviewing stakeholder engagement. I hate that freaking phrase. Stakeholder engagement. So I had to think about that. So the SkyRoad code, pretty good. Carbon monoxide detector project, when you look at the details, it says we've done a 3-month survey and we're analysing the 3. Great.
Well, to be fair, the CO detector project is a 12-month long. It's a years thing, and they're part of the way through.
I know. Well, okay. To be fair, the CA needs to get a wiggle on and not spend freaking ages doing everything they do. It takes forever. Examining possibilities around unleaded fuel. Well, what is that? Several lines. Unleaded fuel's great, but examining possibilities.
Just do it.
The carpet around the coffee machine in Aviation House is like worn out. What else they do? Several lines of work to support historic airfield. We continue to support our DFT colleagues. We continue to make the aviation minister happy, so he doesn't give us grief. Reviewing, what does even that mean, bloody? Anyway, so I've given them a D- for their school report on that. Good work on the original SkyRoad code. Too many promises and next to no deliverables mentioned. Too much fluff, in other words. So while trying harder would be welcome, chaps. a fundamental assessment of your approach is probably required. So, but they did some strategic projects as well. They got some simplification and rationalization of licensing. Yeah, well, they've been talking about that for ages. Sophie O'Sullivan was talking about that back in the virtual voyage thing, but we still need that to actually come to fruition. Review of PMDs, pilot medical declarations. Well, the last time they changed that was a disaster, wasn't it? So hopefully they won't review it the wrong way and they'll review it more positively. And simplification and rationalization of maintenance organizations. Well, that would be a very good thing, and it would just really put right everything they got wrong in the past. So I've given them an A for ambition because I like to encourage people, but an F because there's a bit of a failure to produce anything at the moment. Nothing's really coming out. So their track record on successful delivery is a little bit mixed. A few good things, but most of the time not so good. So I think they need to deliver on their ambitious program. And we're getting to the end, don't worry. Their achievements, what they're really proud of over the past 3 months include CAT 2270, the consultation on cost sharing, continue to seek out opportunities to engage with our GA stakeholders, and the virtual voyage. Yep, they managed to do 3 live streams in 3 days. Woohoo! The consultation on cost sharing was basically planned. And I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that because it was a rubbish consultation. They just didn't really even understand the problem. The bit we get, we continue to seek out opportunities to engage with our GA stakeholders. Well, here's a clue. I've been emailing and calling the CA since May 2021 to get an answer on something that's pretty critical and cornerstone to what they're doing. Since Christmas, I've sent 3 emails and not had one single reply. So you could just try replying to emails to people. That would help. Although we did get an email the other day from the press office saying that Sir Stephen Hillier, the chairman of the CA, was meeting some school children 1.5 miles from a school where he grew up, or the village where he grew up. I mean, what do you want us to do with that? Hold the front page? And then virtual voyage, yeah, they did that. That's a big achievement, except they managed to cut out most of the interesting questions that me and other people had at the end. I'm sure that was just a coincidence. So overall, I'm afraid I've marked them an E. So a bit of a disappointing year. Long words are not a substitute for delivering genuine change, CA, and that change will need to start internally. So a period of humble reflection is what I suggest if you're going to be a good student in 2022. So there you go.
There's a problem with your school report because normally when you get the school report, it's because your parent has turned up at the parents' meeting. But Sir Stephen Hillier has a habit of not turning up. So, or if he does, he kind of comes in and lurks in the corner or hides. So
it was quite hard to get hold of him at the LAA rally, wasn't it? He was there and he did talk to a couple of people, but I think he talked to people where it had been prearranged, dare I say. So yeah, good. Right. Well, I'm sure that was unfair, and there'll be people from the CA who won't be that happy. But we want to support you. We want you to do good things. We just want you to do them quicker. Hurry up. Good. Well, let's work on some more next time. So, what's the next story? We've got some Johnny. You're talking about
Duxford.
What next?
Yeah, we've got news about Duxford. So this year they've got 2 air shows, 6 of their flying days, which are where various aircraft from in the museum take to the skies and the companies at the base there. And they've also got a General Aviation Expo Day, which is going to be interesting. So the GA Day will be held on the 23rd of April from 10 till 6. And they're saying it's open to anyone and everyone with a passion for GA. It's a pre-season event to meet, network, learn and build connections with experts from across the community. They'll also have some flying displays there from what they're terming as flying safety leaders at Duxford, which I'm assuming will include the likes of John Romain and all those great display pilots who can show us how it's done properly. So yeah, it's going to be, I think we'll try and attend if we can. It will be an interesting event to see what's, you know, what can come of it in the future.
We just need details.
Yes. Send us some details. The last one, I think we were the only people to fly in, weren't we?
We were, famously, and this was in 2019, wasn't it? And it was like it was a day of like 50 knot winds, which was, it just happened to be straight down the runway at both places we were flying. It may not have been 50 knots. It was very strong, but Ian and I turned up, and people were like, "Oh, did you drive?" And we were like, "No, we flew in." You know, walking from the aeroplane to the show meant all our stuff blew away, but
and then they closed the aircraft because it was too, not because it was dangerous to land, but they didn't want lots of aircraft parked and not tied down, and the risk of them moving and rolling into other aircraft. So it wasn't too dangerous to fly. It was just a kind of ground thing. But I think the funny part was Grant Shapps, who was an MP at the time and maybe heading up. He might have been aviation minister. I can't remember. But he was in the overhead and was told they were closed, so he had to fly home and then drive back in. Which isn't at all funny. Okay, so don't laugh. Dave.
Oh, right. So just late this afternoon, Cessna announced that they're reintroducing the turbocharged Skylane T182T nearly 10 years after production was stopped. It's going to be powered by a Lycoming 540 engine and is equipped with a Hartzell Engine Technologies turbocharger and a constant speed 3-blade electric de-ice Macaulay propeller. It's got 235 horsepower right up to 20,000 feet. So the real use of this aircraft is when you're flying over mountains or if you want to cruise at higher altitudes. I have to say, looking at that, we haven't had long to look at this, but I've had a look at some of the pictures and it looks a wonderful aeroplane, you have to say. Not only all that power, but it's equipped with a Garmin G1000 NXI flight deck with a GI 275 as a backup. It's got these luxurious seats with Alcantara leather patches in them, built-in oxygen system, aircon. It's got everything.
Well, it has got everything. However, do you think it's a bit odd to offer us such a high-performance aeroplane with no de-icing?
It's a good question.
Summed up by Johnny there.
You can get aftermarket TKS for the 182, but I think it's like fearsomely expensive. Sort of, not too far off 100 grand to have it fitted, which is kind of.
It just makes you wonder why they've reintroduced it, because they must be going, well, this is clearly a good competitor for the Cirrus. 182s, especially with a turbo, really nice aeroplane. But you go, some de-ice might be useful for the kind of places it might get you.
Well, what happened was, when I don't know if you remember, but a number of years ago now, they were introducing the 182 diesel. I can't remember the model number.
Oh, yeah.
The SMA engine in it, and they were so confident that that was going to work well that before they'd even certified the 182 diesel, they stopped and announced that they were stopping production on the 182T turbocharged 182.
Yeah.
And so they stopped that, and then a couple of the 182 diesels ended up in fields because there was a bit of a fundamental issue with the engine, and that kept going wrong and stopping. And they decided that they weren't going to certify it. After all, I went to the factory and had a fly of it. It didn't stop when I flew it. But there was some kind of combination of altitude, throttle, or whatever that there was a repeatable fault and could get it to stop. So that was the end of that. But they'd already stopped the turbocharged line. So I think they've just gone, hey, we could probably sell a few of these and reintroduced it. So it would be an amazing aircraft. Have you got a price on that, Dave? That's going to be what, $700,000-800,000.
No, I went looking for a price, but no, we haven't had a price yet. They are saying if you order now, you'll get it in 2023. So it's a year ahead to production.
Wow! Start saving.
It's tough, really, because frankly, you could go and buy a retractable 182 turbo, which is a fine airplane, and you could probably buy one of those for, even if you buy a sort of really expensive one, and then go and spend an absolute fortune on putting a brand new engine, brand new avionics, brand new interior, brand new paint, brand new glass, brand new everything in it. You probably still cost less than a brand new airplane.
Yeah.
And when you're kind of selling new old airplanes, as it were, it's a tough market. Same with Bonanzas, really.
But in the States, they've got quite a lot of good tax incentives in the States for companies to buy new aircraft, new assets, if you like.
Yeah.
So probably you could work it out that way if you were buying it on the company.
Yeah, and frankly, the idea of refurbishing an aircraft from spinner to tail, if you're new or to aviation, is very tricky and daunting. And so some people just go, I just want an airplane that's new where everything works and it's under warranty. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, there's a market for it, clearly. I bet you they'll sell a dozen or so a year.
Oh yeah, which is probably enough for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. What's the next story? What am I going to miss out next?
Ian.
It's on your wrist.
Garmin. Yeah, Garmin. That's it. Garmin announced a new watch, the Garmin D2 Air X10, of which I'm currently testing at the moment. It arrived the other day. So there you go. There was a brief thread that appeared on the forum that's not there anymore that got an interesting response from many people saying, well, why do you need a pilot watch? It's a good question. Why do you need a pilot watch? On the other hand, if you want a watch and you fancy a pilot watch with a few bits on it, then why not? Who are we to say? So I'll gonna finish testing this and write about it in the next issue.
You're going to mention the main feature that they're talking about. You remember?
The
talk to the hand.
Talk to the hand, because the face ain't. Yeah. So basically, it's kind of like, I haven't made any phone calls with it yet, but I have spoken to Siri through it. So you can have like voice activated stuff, and you can link it into all sorts of. And because you can work with Siri, you can use it to operate your house. So you go, Hive, turn heating up to. I'm not going to say anything because my Hive will turn the heating up or set the alarm. Something like that. You imagine you're walking down the street and back at home, it's getting messages. You're buying shopping from Amazon or something.
Does your Siri say Ian, not another rant?
No, it doesn't. It does interrupt at strange times, but no. So anyway, I have to say, so far, I'm quite impressed. You know, if you're in the market for a pilot watch, then so far I'm quite impressed.
Yours works well to control the heating.
Sorry?
Yours works well to control the heating. There will be some flying testing coming, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, from a flying point of view, it's kind of, you could use it to navigate to a direct 2-point. It's got a built-in GPS, so it's not relying on anything else. But there's no moving map on it, so you can't tell if you're infringing some airspace or anything else. You kind of get a very sort of simple HSI. But you do get a worldwide database. You do get METARs. You do get, more importantly, you get things like altitude alerts. So if you're flying your turbo Cessna non-pressurized 182 and you want to be reminded to put the oxygen on, you can set it to vibrate and give you an alarm at 10,000 feet or whatever you choose to set it at, and remind yourself to put the oxygen on. Or if you're flying along under the London TMA and you think, I better not bust this, you can set a little altitude alert. It's got a built-in barometer, so it'll do that. It's also got a built-in pulse oximeter, which is good for kind of trend monitoring as well. So once it's warned you that you've turned the oxygen on, you can look at it and go, my oxygen saturation is 88. I think I better go somewhere else. Or it's all great and I'm unhappy. And Darren, yes, it does tell the time.
Particularly.
In fact, I'm surprised at Darren for saying that, because, you know, we in a way it's kind of similar to your clocks, isn't it? Really, I mean, you know, I don't go to the marketplace and buy a clock for £1.50 probably, but I would choose to buy one from you, Darren, because they're very special. But it's still tell the time the same.
I got vision now of Darren making you one of his 747 window clocks to wear on your wrist.
The modern equivalent of Dom Jolly.
Yeah.
A pilot!
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. There is a new watch from Garmin. I think it's about, I need to check the UK price, probably about 500 quid or something. I'll check it before I write about it.
Wow. Very good.
But there you go. So, Ed.
Next item is, it's mine. Zara has been immortalised in Lego. So a fan of record-setting pilot Zara Rutherford has created a design of her and a shark microlight in Lego and submitted it to the company as part of their ideas program. There's a minifigure in a tan flight suit, along with a 1/35th scale model of her customised shark. You can open the canopy, retract the undercarriage. It's got working flaps. There's a little Rotax engine under the cowling, so that you can kind of tinker with that. The idea needs 10,000 votes before Lego will make a decision if they're going to make the kit. But there's already 1,500 already, and Lego have history of making other sets like this. They made one for Amelia Earhart and her Lockheed Vega. So I think this might have a good chance. We'll put the link in the comments. So if you fancy supporting that, you can do so. While I was on the Lego website, I think Ian might have a photo he can flash up. There's also, alongside this, there's a fantastic Lego Piper Cub, a clip-wing one, no less. And this has got over 5,000 votes. So if you fancy having this as a Lego kit, go and vote for that as well. I put a link in the comments for the Zara Lego Ideas link. So if you fancy that, go along.
So you get the cub and be your very own Lego Mike Patey, can't you?
That's it. Yeah, build your own Scrappy.
We should get one of those, and we can have lots of videos all going back to work. Back to work. Have you got a tour? I need a tour.
Nick Allen says, no Lego Luscombe for Dave.
Oh, maybe we could start that.
I know, he's on it.
Doesn't someone have to build it first to sort
Yeah.
of design it or something?
Mm.
Anyway, time to marching on. Johnny, you're going to give us a bit of an update, aren't you?
Yeah, one final thing. So we've launched our Fly 2022 campaign, hashtag Fly 2022. So that means if you can challenge yourself, we're challenging you to fly up to or above 33 hours and 42 minutes throughout the year. We've published in the latest edition of the magazine some ideas of our own. There's also a great forum thread as well where people are chucking their ideas into that. So if you're a member of the forum, go ahead and contribute to that. Put some ideas in there. We can post the link to that forum thread in the comments.
It's in there. Done.
Excellent, thank you. And we're also thanking Bose, so they're supporting us with this. They're chucking in a headset and some cash as well as a prize. So throughout the year, we'll be picking various people's adventures and awarding prizes based on various criteria that we'll come up with in terms of inspiration, length, all sorts of things. So throughout the year you can all join in, try and hit that goal. It's all about just doing something interesting, or not necessarily one thing, but many things. Interesting flying. Share it with us. Share it on social media. Hashtag Fly 2022. And between us all, we can get some good flying done.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do believe that's the end of the news. It is time for the interview. So I can't remember. Let's see if I can make this one work. So, Adrian. Hello, Adrian.
Evening all.
Oh, so close.
How you doing?
There you go.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
There we go.
Too big.
Johnny, over to you.
Brill. Right. Thanks for joining us, Adrian. Now, for those who don't know who you are, can you just give us a really quick intro and tell us a bit about how you got into aviation and a bit about your career?
Sure. Well, I've always been mad on aviation since I went to Barton Aerodrome when I was 7 years old. I grew up in the back streets of Salford, and they took me to this big area of grass, and I'd never seen anything like it. And all these people sort of descended from the sky in their little white aeroplanes. And I think everybody I'd met until that point in my life looked like they'd just come out of a Lowry painting. And these people all looked sort of pink-cheeked and happy and that kind of thing. I thought, oh, well, that's what I want to do with my life. So I was an air cadet, and I started flying with the air cadets and did my flying scholarship then at Cardiff in 1986. Goodness me, it's a long time ago now. And I've kind of been flying on and off ever since. I was in the Royal Air Force for a while and flew on Nimrods. And then when I left that, I had a couple of real jobs, but I didn't like having a real job, so I went and worked for the police. After working for the police for 3 years, the chance came to fly on the police helicopter. And I did that for 12 years. And then I wrote a book about it, Above the Law.
Brilliant. That's the biggest copy that you do, isn't it? The one I've
That's the large print version. Yeah, my eyes aren't what they were.
So were you a bobby before you?
No. Most air observers in the UK, in fact, most air observers around the world, are police officers. But thanks to a massive misunderstanding with our chief constable, he decided he was going to have 2 civilian air observers. He liked civilianizing things, and when he decided to get a helicopter, he went and flew with another unit. And they didn't send just any old bobby to fly with him. They sent the unit executive officer and the deputy unit executive officer. And they're flying along, and he said, "So you're both civilians then, are you?" And they said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Does that cause any problems?" "No, sir." "Right, we're having 2 of those as well." And what they failed to point out to him was the unit executive officer had done 30 years as a copper, retired as an inspector in charge of the unit, and come back on the Monday in a civvy suit. And the deputy had done the same and retired as a sergeant. So they didn't mention that to him, and kind of my fate was sealed.
That was a lucky misunderstanding.
Better to be lucky than good.
Absolutely.
So it's quite an interesting job. I don't know a huge amount about it. So an air observer, can you just talk through what you kind of did and how you interacted as a crew?
Sure. The crew of police helicopters in the UK tends to be 3. one pilot and two air observers, as we were known. They're now called tactical flight officers, but it's the same job. And one sits in the front alongside the pilot and assists the pilot with their duties and monitoring things and reading out checklists and so on. And that observer will do the camera when you get there. So you're either searching with the thermal imaging camera or the TV camera, or you're recording evidence with it and that kind of thing. And they're speaking to the control room and getting all the information from the control room. And then there's another observer in the rear who's doing all the navigation, north up, and management. That's how the professionals do it. Sorry, Ian. They're doing all the mission management and the navigation. And then when you get to the scene, they're talking to the bobbies on the scene and that kind of thing.
Interesting. So the aircraft, what were they? Or are they still?
EC-135 is what we had, Eurocopter 135, now the Airbus 135, isn't it? And that was the one that was used most during my time. We started off with an EC-135 T1 with turbomecha engines, and later had the P2 Plus with the Go Faster stripe. And there were a few other types in service, but the predominant one was the EC-135 and still is.
Yeah. And does obviously helicopters drink a lot of fuel generally? Was fuel, is that an issue when you're kind of, on a long chase or a long search looking for a missing person or that kind of thing? Are you obviously fuel planning? It must be quite a big part of the backseat observer's job.
Well, it's kind of the pilot's job. But everybody's concern, obviously, because when it goes quiet, it's concerning for everybody. The EC-135 burns about 3 kilos a minute on average. So that's kind of what we worked on. And from the way we filled it up, you could get about 2 hours safely, a little bit less at night because you've obviously got bigger reserves at night. So 2 hours was the maximum. And there's a few times that we've got quite close to that. And landed on fumes, particularly at night when the weather's clamped in and surprised us. And there's some bits and pieces on that in the book, and just how interesting it was sometimes. And it was sometimes interesting at night. Where are we going to get fuel from if we have to land out, because there aren't that many places to get it from, really.
Yeah, I guess with airfields shutting. GA airfields all generally shutting at 5 p.m. it must be a bit more difficult for you. What was the most challenging part of flying operations?
It was all great fun, really. I can't pretend it was challenging. It was fantastic. No, probably the weather. Bring Simon back, because the weather was the most challenging thing, really. That was the thing we came up against most. The criminals were quite easy to deal with. It was the weather that was going to kill you.
That's a good, interesting point. So from an airspace point of view, the rear seat observers obviously helping with navigation. Do you get every clearance you ask for if you're a police helicopter?
Most, yeah. You can change your call sign. Our call sign was Police 35. And if we changed that call sign to Police 35 Alpha, that meant that we were on a life and death job, and we were coming through and sort everything else out afterwards. Most of the times we got the clearance. Sometimes they'd ask us to wait around a bit, and of course the good thing about the helicopter is you can just pause and then carry on. We did get a bit closer to Stansted once than they imagined we would, but that story's not in the book.
And you must have seen some strange and weird things through those cameras. What sticks out in your memory as the weirdest?
Well, the thermal imaging camera was absolutely fantastic, and we used to do a lot of looking for cannabis factories, because they show up. The heat of the hydroponics for a cannabis factory shows up well. So you'd be flying around and you'd see a roof of a building on a council estate somewhere, and think, there are no fire engines parked outside. That must be hydroponics there. But I think probably the most interesting thing we came across, shall I say, is courting couples out in the middle of nowhere. Because obviously, if there's a car parked out in the middle of nowhere, coppers start thinking, well, what's that doing there? Is it nicked? Has it been dumped? Whatever. And then we'd go over and investigate and find out that wasn't the reason that it was parked up in the middle of nowhere.
Brilliant.
So apologies to anybody that we disturbed.
Adrian, were you ever subjected to a laser attack or anything like that?
Yes, yeah. It happened a few times. I mean, the great thing about helicopter is you can just turn away from it quite easily. It's not like, landing a 737. So you could turn away from it. But I do remember one night out at Rougham in the middle of rural Suffolk. It wasn't actually a laser. It was somebody with one of these million candle power torches from B&Q who thought it would be a good idea to shine it up at us. And what we would normally do is we'd find out where they were and we'd get a police officer to go round. But I wasn't in the mood for that night. So we actually landed on at Rougham Airfield, and I stamped over and gave him some words of advice.
Well, give me that. No, you can't do that, can you? No.
Was there quite a lot of? What's the sort of balance between daytime and nighttime ops?
More work at night. So the average day would be 1 or 2 jobs. The average night would be 3 or 4 jobs. So we did more at night. Obviously, criminals like to come out in the cover of dark, and things like drink drivers and things. That's when you're going to find those. So probably 2/3 of it was night flying, and 70% of what we did was searching in one way or another, whether that was for missing persons or for people who'd had it on their toes after committing a crime.
Now tell us a bit about the book, because there's already plenty of comments from people saying it's a good read and they recommend it.
Well, I can't say more than that, really. It is a good read, and I really do recommend it. But I would, it's just my story of my time on the helicopter, and it takes people through the application process and the time that I spent in training down at Gloucester. We were trained at Staverton. The International Police Air Training School, which sounds really fancy, but it's basically one bloke in a helicopter. And then when I came back to Suffolk, and all of the jobs that we do there, and it's the most interesting jobs and some of the funniest jobs as well, because there were things that were funny, and there are a few sad ones in there as well. And it's just sort of a flavour of what we really got up to. And then towards the end of the book, it details really why I decided to leave the best job in the world, which was the fact that the National Police Air Service came along and changed the way that we operated. So I decided it was time to move on.
Yeah, and we've just posted the link to buy it in the comments for people. And Richard Kennedy says, was it all reactive, or did you get used in planned operations?
Mostly reactive, but we did get involved in things. If they were going to put in a drug stop, for instance, a stop on a vehicle that was supposedly transporting drugs, they would call us in advance and let us know, and we'd be overhead to make sure nothing was happening. Or if they were going to do a big, kick a door in and expected people to flee, they'd have us overhead to be watching for that. And things like going out and looking for the hydroponics that I mentioned and those kind of things, they would be planned, as well as some of the things like moving Category A prisoners and things like that.
Yeah. So Jane Gifford says, would Suffolk come over the border to Essex? I'm guessing with the advent of NPAS, the sharing of assets is more common.
I mean, we actually always worked really closely with Essex and Cambridgeshire, and to some extent Norfolk as well, because they only had a part-time helicopter. And there are parts of because we were based at Wattisham, which is pretty much in the middle of Suffolk, but it's only 5 minutes away from the from the Essex border. So it was sometimes easier for us to do a job in Colchester, for instance, than it was for the Essex helicopter. So we'd share it out. And obviously helicopters quite often are in bits in a hangar, just like any other aeroplane. So when Essex were in the hangar, we would cover for them, and we do all of their jobs, and likewise they do that for us when we were in for servicing.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say, when you're sitting there drinking your tea, which inevitably I assume people do in the crew room quite a lot, and the phone rings or big bell sounds or whatever it is, how long is it before you put your tea down and can lift to depart?
A minute, 90 seconds, something like that, before the skids are off. If it's a get out of the door now, if it's a bit of a slower reaction one, you might take a little bit longer. But yeah, you could get airborne within 90 seconds.
And Andrew Kennedy's question about drones taking over planned work. There's a broader question, I guess, of would drones do more? And there's been talk of potentially more fixed wing activity with NPAS. Do you think the helicopter's still got a future with the police? Absolutely, because you can't react with that speed with either a drone or a fixed wing aircraft. Fixed wing aircraft has to taxi out to the runway and take off. A drone is probably going to be in the back of a van or a car and has to be driven to the scene. I know a lot of forces have started to use drones, the fairly small ones, and they're using them successfully for missing person searches and things like that. And they're certainly a great asset. There's a lot of talk at the moment about the use of drones, but I think that's probably a decade away before it's in any way replacing and beyond visual line of sight and that kind of thing. I think for police operations, that's further down the line than a lot of people imagine. Brilliant. What's the next question? So you have a police 20 Vulcan Air that orbits over a scene. Is it more beneficial?
Obviously, I love fixed-wing aircraft, and I never did trust helicopters really. So the use of fixed-wing aircraft is marvelous, particularly for those jobs that you could plan, like going out and looking for hydroponics or taking photographs and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, when NPAS bought fixed-wing aircraft, they didn't look at what they actually required. So they thought it was going to be able to do a lot of things that in reality it wasn't able to do, because all the decisions were made by police officers who didn't understand things like flight into known icing conditions and things like that. So the aircraft that they got wasn't right for what they needed. And it's also been used just like another aircraft, whereas actually there are some jobs that a fixed wing does really well, and there are some jobs that a helicopter does really well, and it kind of should have been split up in that way.
Good. Brilliant. Well, I'll just flash this up against once more for people that want to get hold of a copy, and the link is in the comments. So go ahead, buy the book, give it a read. There's lots of good comments and feedback from people who are watching. So Adrian, thank you for joining us. There's Ian's got his copy there, waving it up.
Normal size, not smaller copy. Not just a big one.
Brilliant. Well, Adrian, thanks for joining us, and we'll have to talk again sometime and maybe see you at an airfield this year somewhere.
I hope so. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Cheers, Adrian.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I played the wrong stinger. I should have played. Should have played that one.
Okay, that works. So, with news about the Duxford shows reminding us that the air show season is just around the corner, that got us thinking, if we were to have a fancy machine that we would have to fly for an air show season, what would it be? Who's first? Dave.
Right. Well, I've chosen. Well, I decided not to be a speck into sky as some display aircraft are. I think should fill it instead. Fill the sky with something big and very noisy and pulsing power and everything. So I have chosen an Airbus Atlas A400M. You cannot miss this in a display. Yes, I know I need a bit more crew to fly. I can't fly it by myself, but I'm allowed a fantasy crew. So that I think we could get away with this. I saw one in a display. I think it was at the Farnborough Air Show in 2016. And I saw it give a display, and it was just astonishing. It's a huge aircraft, obviously, being flown light, but it put in the most extraordinary performance, takeoff, turns, and it really thrills you with what an aircraft can do. I have an idea, though, as well as sort of doing all that kind of stuff. I would like to have a reenactment of a proper Special Forces raid. So you put the aircraft comes along as though it's coming into a hot landing zone full of hostiles. You make a pass over the runway low, spraying gunfire everywhere, throwing incendiaries out and other munitions. Then you make a quick turn, come back round, touch down, and all these Special Forces types jump out the back and seal the area. What's wrong with that?
Is that fantasy Special Forces as well that you do?
That's them.
That's it. Yeah. Your display sounds like it might need a bit of what is it? Risk assessment.
Yeah.
And the A400 it's about the size of a hangar, so it's like a fancy hangar display, isn't it?
You need a fantasy airfield to keep it up.
That's it. Yeah. But I was impressed that your airplane can take off and turn, as you described it. Yeah. That's going to be really useful for a display.
Well, it's quite unique for an airplane as well, really.
But Mikey's Wings Across the Sky is with you, Dave. Dave is my air show director.
Yes.
Jeff Vernon says A400 is a great display.
Mm.
There you go.
Mm. Well,
who's next?
Me. I'm next. I haven't gone for like speck in the sky, so not like a little creakery or something like that. I've gone for something with a couple of big radial engines, though, nonetheless. And I've gone for Beech 18. This one flown by Matt Yunkin in the US. An absolutely spectacular display. I mean, Matt Yunkin's clearly a hugely experienced and capable display pilot, but nonetheless, his displays at Oshkosh have me wincing a little bit, just because. But I guess is why they're so entertaining, but yet safe. Absolutely spectacular aircraft. This one's built in 1943. There's a great video on YouTube of Matt kind of in the cockpit and Matt wrestling this Beech 18 through a display. I think it's fair to say it's not really a fingertip airplane when you're flying it like that.
That's actually one of the best videos, is seeing inside that, because he's like wrestling. It's like full and back. It's really
it's not sitting there just like gently moving, is he? It's kind of like full on. So go and look that up and have a look. But my choice would be a good old Beech 18.
That's a good one. Lots of noise.
Yeah.
So it must be Ed next.
Okay. So I picked this. I picked it. So it's the beautiful P-38 Lightning, and not just any P-38, but the uber polished and perfect example owned by Red Bull. With 2 smoke trails, plenty of energy, and all that bling. It's a fabulous display machine. And I figured that for getting, not only is this is great for a display when you get there, but for getting around, for all the flying in between displays, because you hear display pilots go, "Oh, it's a real ball ache, and it takes time or whatever." The Lightning's 240 knots, 1,100 mile range, 2 engines. And most importantly, it's a nose wheel, and it's a nose wheel that people will tolerate. So that those days when you've had a hard day and you get to your final destination or something, and there's a crosswind, it's like all the tail dragger guys are having, going, "Oh, I don't need this at the end of the day." The Lightning kind of works with you. You go, "Yeah, no, this is my friendly nose wheel thing." So I think that the only trouble is I think I need the fancy Red Bull maintenance crew to keep it looking just like it looks.
And the fantasy fuel tanker.
Yeah.
As Andrew Kennedy says, must have taken them about 4 million man hours to polish that.
Yeah. So that leaves you, Johnny.
Yeah, so Dave was going on about a speck in the sky. Well, the answer to that is just fly lower. I've gone for the Folan Gnat.
Oh,
Of
yes.
course. What a machine. Yeah, it's just a little pocket rocket jet. I'd go for that exact one, actually. I think that's G Moore, which was owned by David Gilmour many years ago.
In the yellow is great.
Yeah. So that would be my choice. There was some question as to whether I'd fit in it, but as Ed suggested, we'd take the front seat out and I could fly it from the back. Yeah. But no, I think as jets go, it must be the most probably easy to might be wrong here, easy to operate. It looks nimble, unlike a Jet Provost, which looks like it's just struggling into the sky. Yes, Cat, we
Burton says you need 9 of those, Johnny.
Is that just to get one serviceable one?
Yes. But yeah, no, good choice. Yeah, I've heard it. Someone I know flew the Nat, and they said it was like wearing a pair of wings. Yes. Dave, your A400, Paul Cadell points out, you'd get to the air show and your Luscombe would taxi off the ramp out the back. Nick Allen says, Dave keeps Luscombe inside his A400M.
Had I thought about it a little bit more and not been seduced by the Beech 18, I think if I could go back and change my choice, I haven't got the picture here, but it would be a Lightning.
Oh,
flying Lightning in a display.
Yeah.
Particularly if it was polished, would have been a very special experience. Not that I would stand a chance of. I think they say, don't you? You can keep ahead of the Lightning right until the time you let the brakes off or something.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's Dave. There's a lot of votes for your A400M and your reenactment. Johnny picks a jet shocker. Dave and Johnny have a draw. Dave wins, no question. Dave today for sure. Johnny's probably edged it. Johnny, Dave on the fantasy scale. Catkin says +1 for Dave.
Wow.
I think I'd have to go for Ed's P38. Okay. What else we got? We have got an Ed. Need something special from Johnny to beat Ed. But I think Dave may have Dave on his giant A400M. May have picked a good air show act.
Yeah, Dave, victory. There was Chris Winch in the Livestream extra yesterday was suggesting Corsair, which is also a great one. I have to say, Corsair would be good fun. That's definitely on my fantasy list.
That'd be good. You know, the fact maybe we need to find whoever does the A400. Do the RAF do an A400M display?
No, it's Airbus. Airbus Defence and Space do it. So
Airbus. If you're listening, Dave needs an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So can we send Dave along to fly with your display pilot in the A400M, please?
Well, why don't we try and A, get some video of the A400M display, and B, Johnny get the display pilot on to talk us through how he plans, how he or she, I'm not sure, plans or executes the display.
That looks good. Dave looks mildly stressed though.
I'd go up in a display like that. I've been up with Nigel, No Shoes Nigel, and his Luscombe when he does his.
Just like an A400M.
Yeah. There's probably all the aluminium in the A400M landing gear door that's in a Luscombe. Oh.
Who switched Ed off? Okay, well, I think it's time to move on from Fantasy Hangar. Well, I'm going to declare Dave the winner on that one, even though I didn't.
Yeah.
So we should. Ed's back. We should.
I've come back. You remember if you joined us in Livestream Extra yesterday? I said, "Oh, I'm trying a new camera." It turns out the battery goes flat.
I had that problem. I ended up buying one of those dummy batteries that you plug into the mains.
Yeah, I was too cheap. I should have put it on charge.
No worries, Johnny. Do you want to tell us about? Have we got? What have we got next? Have we got Johnny, or have we got events? Events, Dave, and we're running so far 3 minutes late. So quick events.
Okay. Well, we've already mentioned Duxford Secret GA Expo. Also on the same time is 23rd, 24th of April at Popham. The Royal Aero Club is holding its race school and open day. So anyone interested in the air races organised by the Royal Aero Club can go along. It's free to attend. And there's a link to which you can find out more information, and we'll pop that in the comments in a second. The other event to mention, of course, is April 9th, Pilot Careers Live in London, being staged by our very selves.
Absolutely.
Yep, and club things. So send us your pictures for the next issue. We want to see some more out and about pictures. So just reply to any email that you've received over the past week or so. Send your nice pictures in of you flying. And also don't forget to use the current vouchers, Blackpool, Holmbeck Farm, Eschot and Middlezoy for this month. And we'll have more new ones for next month. And if you ain't a member, you can join for £7.50 and it will not be any cheaper than that.
Absolutely.
£7.50 a quarter.
Is that a one-off payment for life?
£7.50 a quarter. It will be going up. It will be going up shortly. We've got some exciting news that we'll be bringing you any week now. Hopefully, maybe even next week, we'll have a little video. Yes, we are going to Aero in Friedrichshafen. We're very much looking forward to that. In fact, Ed, I must talk to you about this. I got as we're about to go on air, I got some texts from the US for some interesting opportunities of photography in Friedrichshafen. So, I'll talk to you about that later. So if you're not a member, please join £7.50 a quarter. If you are a member, or even if you aren't a member, please give us a like, subscribe, comment as well. Give us a thumbs up, all that stuff. We're really looking to grow the YouTube channel even more. So that would be very nice. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday if you're a member, next Thursday if you're not, but you should be. So join. That's it. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you all.